everyone. If you're new here, I want to welcome you to Chaos Makers Hobby House. I appreciate you coming by to check out my channel. If you have been following along for a while, I appreciate you joining me on this journey. For those of you who are pretty new to my channel, I garden, just a little refresher, I garden on 0.16 acres. It's a very, very small plot of land, but I try to make the best of it and pack in as much as I possibly can. I have been in this house for 3 years, had my garden set up for 2 years in this house now. It's not only my second year gardening, but it is the second year on this property. So everything that I have is pretty young. The garden is still expanding and getting established, still working on the soil and getting it to be the layout that I want. I honestly can't tell you how many times I have changed the layout, renovated it, and I'm kind of still in the middle of a renovation now. But I'm pretty happy with how things are turning out so far. It's only year 2 and it seems a lot more established than I would have expected in year 2. Now, unfortunately, this time of year hits a little hard. I'm in South Carolina, Zone 8B. It is very hot here, and at the end of August, a lot of things start to die off. People think that, you know, it's peak summer, you should be getting your most harvest right now, but these plants, they don't like it when it gets this hot. Around this time of year is also when I start experiencing garden burnout. I put in so much effort in the very beginning of the year, keeping up with my pruning, my pest control, training things up trellises. Then it gets to a point where it's hot. I don't want to be outside for an extended period of time in that heat. I just kind of Hunger Games it and say, good luck, may the odds be ever in your favor. And we're at that point. So pest and disease has come through and taken its toll. Here we also get a lot of rain around this time of year, and this year did not disappoint. We've been getting monsoons almost every day. This is the first week that we actually had dry weather, and it's actually about to rain. Look at that sky. Fun stuff. But with all that rain, I live on clay soil. That's why I raised bed garden. We get a lot of standing water, and stuff starts to rot. Right now, I've been pretty hands-off, just coming out and harvesting when things need to be harvested. I'm not getting a huge harvest right now. Things are still growing and things are showing signs of recovering. Well, some things anyway. Other things have just died off completely, and that's okay. The summer garden is rough, especially in the south when the weather and disease that the weather brings is just not in your favor. So to start things off, about a month ago, a storm completely knocked this trellis over that had my loofah, ridge gourd, which is another type of loofah, sweet potato, sugar baby watermelon, and maypop on there. It looked okay for a while, but then that started to happen. This side is the side that had the ridge gourd on it. This was my first year growing both ridge gourd and loofah. You see the loofah is looking very good right now. Still have a lot up there. But I started noticing that the ridge gourd, the leaves started to yellow. So I went and took a look. And I am not sure if this was damage from when the storm knocked the trellis over or from all the rain, but the stem rotted. It is toast. There's nothing left to it. So the ridge gourd died off. I mean, it happens. It could be from all the rain. It could have been a combination of the damage from the trellis and then it opening up to get waterlogged with all the storms. But it's a little bit sad looking on that side right now. But that's okay. I'm not upset. We still have loofah. I got a lot of harvest off the ridge gourd before it died back, and now the sweet potato vine can fill in even more space. In my past videos, I did plant carrots right there and right there, and they germinated beautifully. But then some birds decided to come through and eat all the seedlings. So we're gonna have to try that again. The ones in the other part of my garden bed did just fine, but for some reason the cardinals really, really like this area. They eat every seed that I plant. But got another flush of sugar baby watermelon after I had harvested the last. That's why I never cut back my watermelon vines after harvesting, because a lot of times they will reflower and put off more fruit. That's just such a neat sight. All the loofah. I've been selling and giving away loofah sponges on strings, and then using the scraps to actually make kitchen sponges. I'll cut back one thing we have to buy. Well, my green beans are so on again, off again right now. With the heat, they just stopped producing. The flowers weren't coming out anymore, and the few that did come out were just dropped because it was just too hot. They do get to the point where that happens. Same with tomatoes. They don't like the heat, so they'll just start dropping blooms. I did get a bit of a harvest off of this for a little while. We had a spell where it was, under 90 degrees. And I left a few beans to go to seed so I can save those for next year. However, right now it seems like we're going through another off again spell. They're on hold, but it was a hot week right before it was a rainy week, so we'll just see what happens. But I did plant bush beans over here about a month ago, maybe beginning of July. And those are doing really well. They're starting to set blooms. So hopefully I'll be able to get a good harvest off of these before the end of the year. The difference between bush beans and pole beans: bush beans give you a harvest all at once. They just put out all their flowers, and then you get a large harvest over a short period of time. Whereas pole beans will continue to put off flowers throughout the season, depending on the weather, obviously, and you will get a smaller harvest, but more frequently. And they won't just abruptly stop. They won't decide they're done, they produced enough, and be done for the season. Until you get frost, you could get pole beans. Here's that carrot bed I was talking about, how this one germinated no problem, nice and thick. I have to go in here and thin them out a little bit once I know which ones look stronger than others, so probably give it another week or two before I completely thin it out. But the birds didn't pull these up. They germinated just fine. When I stopped caring about my squash, just wiped my hands of them and said, powdery mildew gets you, so be it. If the squash vine borers get you, so be it. If the squash bugs get you, so be it. That's when they started to recover the most. I gave up treating them. We had a lot of rain, so we had a lot of rot and a lot of powdery mildew, but they are bouncing back beautifully. A lot of them aren't even connected to their original root system. The squash vine borer completely chewed through the stem, but they rerouted elsewhere. So now, even though there's still squash vine borer in there, they're rooted in so many different places that it's not interrupting the flow of nutrients or water. So they're just trucking right along. Now the Ananas de Amérique melon, I've harvested 3 so far. One of them did succumb to pickle worms, and that was a disgusting, sloppy mess. But the other one I just harvested today was doing really well. It's delicious. I have gone and put bags over the immature fruit just to, help prevent the pickle worms, because they can really just decimate an entire squash, or an entire melon and squash actually. But they're doing fantastic. And if you've never heard of Ananas de Amérique melon, you're not the only one. I got these in a mystery box of seeds, and upon doing further research, found that they're actually quite rare. It's an heirloom variety that, I have to tell you, is the best cantaloupe variety that I have ever tasted. It is very, very sweet, very juicy. The musky taste that cantaloupes often have is very, very mild with this one. And it smells amazing. I have a new favorite. And well, this is what's left of my tomatoes. Clearly, they do not long for this world. The heat got to them. They get blight. They stopped producing a while ago. I just kind of gave up on them and said whatever happens, happens. And well, clearly this happened. But that's all right. Tomatoes usually don't like the heat anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. I expected around this time for them to be pittering out anyway. But I do have this wild and crazy mess of tomatoes. I planted these on a whim. I mean, well, actually, one of them was a volunteer, so I just slapped it over here, and I was trying to train them up the fence and support them and keep things well maintained, but well, this happened. The watermelon, banana melon chaos that I just threw over here on a whim, not knowing if anything would happen with them, and well, they took over, climbed my tomatoes. And again, I'm not pruning, I'm doing anything. You can see lots of dead stuff here. I can kind of get in there to harvest, but it is what it is. It's August. August gardens get crunchy. Now a little bit more information about this chaotic mess over here. This watermelon was a volunteer. I have no idea what kind of watermelon it is. See, got some growing right there. It is either a sugar baby, an orange tender sweet, a black diamond, or maybe a crimson sweet. I believe that was the other one. I really don't know. It came up in one of the seed cell trays that I just kind of dumped all my extra seed starting mix into, so I thought I'd give it a chance. And I still have no clue what it might be. Do you have any guesses? I've got a lot of watermelons about this size, and they don't look like any watermelon I've grown before, so yeah, I don't know. And it wouldn't be from a volunteer from a dropped seed or cross-pollinated. These were seeds I purchased, and just anything that didn't germinate, all that seed starting mix just got thrown into a bucket to be used or recycled later. Check for my little friend Ralph over here. He's not in there? No, he's not in there. That is a banana melon that a very large 36-inch garter snake likes to coil around. I'm not mad. He keeps it pest free, but that is looking really good. Never tried banana melons. Supposedly they have a little bit of spice to them, so we shall see. I have one banana pepper plant that's actually doing really well, producing quite a lot, and then one that I think I've picked 2 peppers off of since I planted them. Not quite sure what all that's about. It looks healthy enough, despite me not giving them any attention. I have been picking quite a few eggplant. This is the long purple variety, and they just get really long and skinny. They don't get that big. I have another one over here. Oh, and one that never made it out of its container, and it's still trying. I don't even water these anymore. This Corbaci pepper was just planted on a whim, like in late June. I thought it died, but apparently it hasn't, so we'll see if anything comes of that. Last but not least, for the vegetable garden portion, are the backup squash I planted when my primary squash just were sad and didn't look like they were ever going to recover, and it's thriving. On a side note, I did plant Black Beauty zucchini, and it, just like the other one that I planted in the beginning of the season, turned white, crunchy, and covered in a type of fungus that is a kind of blight that I thought it started on that plant, somehow got introduced into my garden and infected a lot of things. I mean, well, it did spread and infect a lot of things. But it was very, very rare in my area, so I don't know how it would have gotten introduced. I think the seeds were contaminated. They were seeds I just got from a big box store. But every single Black Beauty zucchini that I started, after it got about, I don't know, 8 inches tall, started getting crispy and white and having lesions all over it. So yeah, I will be throwing those seeds out and not using them in the future, because apparently this particular blight fungus can carry over on infected seeds. Back to what I was saying, backup squash is mostly various types of patty pan and scallop squash. So I don't think I really have any producing zucchini at this point. I have yellow crookneck squash and patty pan, and I have one long white bush zucchini that's trying to produce but hasn't had much luck so far. There's one trying to produce. But one thing, oh, you can see some of that blight I was talking about right there. It's still hanging around, but I think it's not too terrible right now. But one thing about squash, when it gets this hot and nasty and wet, the blossoms will rot before they ever open. So even your female flowers that have the squash attached to it will just rot. You can see, like, you see perfect example right there. It's wrinkly, it's falling apart, and the blossom never opened. So that's not blossom end rot. That's not poor pollination. That's just, it's wet and hot, and it's failing. It's dropping blossoms. And then there's this random volunteer sweet potato growing out of my compost. I'm not mad. I just don't know how it got there, because I don't think I ever put sweet potato into my compost, because I knew this would happen. Oh well, more the merrier. So that was the backyard. Most of the vegetables are grown in the backyard. Most of the fruit in the front yard, because they need more sun. Front yard gets more sun, and I can sneak fruit trees by the HOA. So Mr. Beastie dragon fruit is huge. Still have yet to see any blooms, but I don't know if those are just going to be additional buds or if they're going to be blooms. I'm not sure yet. I actually have another cutting from that same dragon fruit that's going nuts right here. It's only been a couple months since that rooted. This is a casualty of the flooding rains. It is a Lopin sweet cherry that I planted as a bare root this spring. And unfortunately, because of all the heavy rains and it not having a really established root system to deal with that much water, this happened. So I dug it out of the ground, potted it up, I'm letting it dry out and see if it has a chance to recover. It is not the first fruit tree this has happened to. I don't think it'll be the last. However, this is the first fruit tree it happened to. This Fuyujiro persimmon last year looked like that cherry tree. Dead, falling apart, waterlogged, and now we have fruit. And this tree has only been planted for about a year, and it has fruit. Like I said, my garden here has only been going for about 2 years, and I've slowly been adding to it. So the fact that I already have fruit on this is amazing. I think the only thing that hasn't complained about all this rain is my Owari Satsuamander, and this thing has put on a foot in size in like 2 months. I just got this just a couple months ago, so I'm very happy with the outcome so far. And yes, I do have a watermelon vine sprawling through my flower bed, just all chaotic, and it keeps going and going and going and going and around the corner. Just keeps going. But this I actually harvested off of already, and a lot of people, after they get all their harvest, would cut back the watermelon vine. But again, I don't like to do that because we have a long growing season here, and after the initial fruit set is harvested, they usually reflower. So this is the orange tender sweet watermelon, and I have 4 more melons on here after I had already done my first harvest that still have plenty of time to ripen. I just want to appreciate this for a minute. May not look amazing because it's wet and waterlogged and everything's a little sad, but I love my plumeria. It is doing amazing. I mean, obviously it's from Hawaii, so this whole wet, humid nastiness, it's in heaven, and it's putting on so many blooms right now. This is just the end of a flush, and it's still beautiful. And now that we are getting towards fall, we're getting the second round of raspberries. This is my Dorman red raspberry. Really good variety for the south. Raspberries don't particularly like to have wet feet. So this one holds up to the humidity a little bit better and isn't as susceptible to root rot. Oh, and doesn't require any chill hours. This is one of those moments where I wish smell-o-vision was a thing. This is a butterfly ginger lily, and it is the best smelling thing ever. Oh God, I can't get enough. My entire yard smells amazing. All the way across the yard, as far as you can possibly get, you can still smell this. Of course, can't forget the pretty flush of color over here. This is my Siam tulip or cucurma lily. Oh, I'm terrible at those names. Just doing just fine. Again, tropical, has no problem with the rain. Although, even my elephant ear had started to yellow. That's how much rain we got. The goji berry is producing. You've never tried goji berry? I can compare it to maybe a tomato and a pepper had a baby. They are considered a superfood, so they are great to add to various dishes. And their flavor isn't so overpowering, where if you add them to a smoothie, that's all you'll taste. Which is really nice because I don't necessarily love the flavor. It's not my least favorite thing, but there are things I like better. Okay, y'all green stalk growers. I do not know what's going on with my strawberries. These were the ever-giving strawberries who just kept producing and are still producing. I mean, they're small and few and far between now. It's not even the season they should be producing, but I keep having random plants just die off. Like an entire pocket just die back, look terrible, and I don't know why. Like, really, that was a dead pocket, that was a dead pocket, other dead pocket, and they're random. It's not like an entire tier is dying off, it's just a single pocket. I fertilize with the liquid fertilizer per what, green stalk advises. They need a little bit of water now, they're a little droopy, but they are usually watered thoroughly, so I don't really know why they're just randomly dying back. Any advice? Do they get a disease I don't know about? Am I over fertilizing? And then last but not least, the Anne's Golden raspberry. I think that's what it is. Again, bought these thinking they were heritage red raspberries. They ripened to yellow. Clearly not heritage red raspberries, but they are also getting their fall flush. So we're getting lots of raspberries right now, and they're delicious. So I'm not mad that they're not red raspberries. I will need to come up with a better solution for the trellis though, and bird netting, because I've had some escape. Well, thank you for joining me on this late August garden tour, where we all start to feel a little bit burned out and really don't want to keep putting in the effort. But I encourage you to at least go out there and check to see if there's anything growing. You might find more food than you expect, because Sometimes the hands-off approach, the garden just figures out how to heal itself. And, well, yeah, I lost a few things. I also have a few things that are going really well. And I have basically ignored them completely. Maybe they just needed less attention. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Until next time, see ya.